Today I'd like to discuss the process. Who amongst us hasn't fantasized about being on stage and being showered by thunderous applause and roses and recognition? I have, very often and for a very long time. But in my ripe old age, it's quite obvious that I'm not going to be a professional ballerina. I'm not going to be an opera singer. And you would think that the part of you that craves that kind of singular experience of performing on stage dies with the rest of your childhood dreams. But it doesn't. A few months ago, I saw the documentary Moon Age Daydream by Brett Morgan. It's a documentary on David Bowie. Seeing David Bowie dominating that stage, being absolutely larger than life, it did something to me. And I grew a little wistful at the recognition that I'll probably never get to experience it. I'll never know for myself what that feels like. Well, obviously, it's very easy to get starry-eyed about, the fame, the recognition of being an artist. But I think to be a true artist, we have to enjoy the process of creation. Joyce DiDonato is one of my favorite mezzo-sopranos, and she is just an amazing human being. She once gave an interview where she said, the process is that glorious, formidable place where the magic, the growth, and the mystery happens. I define process as the time and effort spent in service of perfecting one's craft that is not observed by an audience. That could be your practice, your research, your lessons, and so much more. Art is produced on stage, but it is perfected in the studio through tears and frustration, loneliness and meditation, repetition and tedium, and confusion, despair. For every second of beauty and artistry that is displayed on stage or to the public, there are countless hours spent in the studio, in the library, in your physical therapist's office, in your psychological therapist's office. As artists, if we do not learn to enjoy this process, then the journey would be impossibly painful. If you watch the Royal Ballet's company class as part of the 2021 World Ballet Day, I'll link it down below, you see that when most of the dancers are still just getting started on their day and warming up their bodies, Marinella Nunes has already artistically arrived. Out of the hundreds of qualities that make her so unique and glorious to watch as an artist, is this contagious joy of dancing that she communicates. And you see this kind of joy even when she is just taking a routine company class like they do every single day. You can see that she enjoys the process. Now the important question is, can you learn to enjoy the process, or is it something that you were born with? You just have that kind of personality. Like many things in art, I think it's a little bit of nature and a whole lot of nurture. The key lies in your belief. Do you see process as a means to an end, or do you see it as something that is intrinsically valuable? To me, it is the latter. I see the process as the process of creation. Imagine now you're at the end of your life, and if you were to do the calculation of the number of ballet classes you've taken, or the number of hours you've spent practicing the violin, it is a finite number. What if I told you that after your next practice session, you will have spent 80% of the total hours you have in the studio in a lifetime? What if at the end of your next ballet class, I were to tell you that you've already spent 65% of your total ballet hours in your lifetime and you only have 35% left? I hope that this change of perspective will help you see that each class, each practice session, each rehearsal as a precious opportunity to create art, and these opportunities are finite. That is not to say that the process is always glorious. There definitely are struggles, both technical and artistic. Personally, if the struggle is technical, I treat it like a challenge. I will repeat to myself, there is no artistry without technique. Technique is what enables you to express your art. Now, you don't have to be the most stunning technician in the world, but you need to be proficient enough to execute your vision. There's nothing more frustrating than having this artistic vision in your mind, whether it's dance or more recently for me it's the violin. I have a very particular sound that I want to produce in my head. But technically I'm just not proficient enough to execute it. So there's this mismatch between your vision and your execution. At the end of the day, technique is freedom. That said, be patient with yourself. Be kind to yourself. I know that having played the violin for 2.5 years, there's no way, there's no reason for me to sound anywhere near Hilary Hahn. It's impractical and it's arrogant. It's good to have a goal that you want to work towards, but it's also important to acknowledge your experience and your limitations and meet yourself where you are. Please be kind to yourself. Now, when the struggle is artistic, I treat it as an experiment. I approach it with humility and curiosity. Many things I try will look and sound absolutely ridiculous. And that's okay, because nobody is here to witness it. It's my own process, it's my own time. I can be silly, I can be ridiculous, I can try the most outlandish choices just to see what it sounds like, what it looks like, what it feels like. It is your own time. So be playful, be silly, be bold, and most importantly, I think, be curious. Apathy is the end of all creativity. To be an artist is to be a lifelong student of life. Look for interpretations and inspirations both within the materials and beyond. Know that not everything you find will be relevant, but that's okay. You have to be an encyclopedia before you can connect the dots. After all, have you ever heard of a good writer who is not a voracious reader? Having said all that, the attitude towards process is not always positive. There are days when your mind or your body or both are just exhausted. Just a couple of days ago, I was staring at my violin case, willing myself to open it, and I just couldn't. I don't know what it was. It could be mental, it could be physical, but I just could not get myself to open that case and practice. Sometimes you're just tired, and sometimes you haven't seen progress in a very long time, and you feel like you're running in circles. And sometimes the technical challenge could be so great that it becomes a mental block, and each time you practice, it only compounds the frustration. You feel like you're banging your head against the wall. When those things happen, step back, take a break, take the time for yourself, and live your life. Your art is important, but it's not everything that you are. It is not what all of your life is. Give yourself the permission to create space and distance and wait. Wait for your mind and body to miss the process. Now, there is no prescription for how long you have to wait. It could be days, weeks, or even months. Now, how do you know when to come back? This will look different for all of us. For me, sometimes I would have a dream about a ballet variation, or I would walk past a stationery store and see the notebooks and the pens on display, and I'll have this urge to just pick up the pen and write. Or I'll hear a familiar passage of music and I find like my fingers started to twitch. So these are all very good signs that your body and mind are ready to get back into it. If you truly love your art, it will come back to you. When you first reconnect with it, your technique may be rusty. It might feel a little weird to be writing again or to be playing the violin again, but your mind will be fresh. I think you'd be pleasantly surprised by the depths and the new perspectives that you find during your time away. Please leave me a comment below. I'm curious to know what the process means to you and how do you find ways to enjoy it whether it's your practice time, your rehearsals, or your time spent on research. Whatever your medium is, I'm curious. I hope this video is helpful in some small ways to you and serve you on your creative journey. We are really all on our own, so I'm really glad of your company. If you like more content like this about art, creativity, consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time. Ciao!